In this episode, we're going to go over how to create global commands for your Discord bot so your commands work in multiple guilds, how to connect your bot to the database, and how to create a development mode for the bot. So when you're developing the bot, it doesn't activate the commands in other guilds, just your development guild. So first of all, we'll start with the development mode. So we want to go to base, interfaces, and in custom client, we want to just add a field called development mode as a bool. Then if we go to the class, we can just implement this, bring this to the top. Then here we want to do this dot development mode, and here we want to do process.argsv slice 2. Then that includes, then we want to do -- development. So what this will do when you start the bot using the -- development argument, it will make this variable true, and then it will actually set the config to be developer mode, and then we can check this in other commands to do specific things if it is in development mode. So for the development mode, we just want to go to the package.json. Then we just want to copy and paste the start commands. Tag the start commands with dev. And then at the end of the start commands, we just do -- development. And that will start the bot in the development mode. For example, in the init method at the top, we can do console.log starting the bot in this development mode. And then if it's true, we want to put development. If it's false, we want to put production, then mode at the end. So now if we just quickly start the bot, you'll see it will log this to the console. There we go, the bot started in production mode. Let me just fix that spelling mistake. Next, we want to change the Discord bot token we use based on this development mode variable. So you're not running two instances of the same bot. So to do this, we want to replace this .config.token with this .development mode. And if it is the development mode, we want to do this .config.dev token, else this .config.token. Now we need to create this in the iConfig interface. So let's just do dev token string. Then while we're here, we also want to do a dev for the client ID as well, because if you're using two different bots, it would be two different client IDs. And for the global commands, we will no longer need the guild ID. So let's change this to the dev guild ID because we will need that. So now if we just copy these fields over to our config.json, then I can rename the guild ID to dev guild ID. I'll just move that down. Then next we want to do dev Discord client ID. So for now I'll just leave that as blank. And then for this one, we want to just do the same. So there we go. So for now, I'm just going to leave these blank because I'm just going to be using the production mode for this tutorial. But what you would want to do is to fill these out, following along from the first tutorial, doing the same steps. And then when you're developing commands, you're not running them, or you're not testing them on your main bot. Now that should be everything in that file. So let's quickly add a dev mode for the commands as well. So if we go to iCommand, just do dev bool. Same in the options. So dev bool. And if we go to the class command, just add this dot dev equals options.dev, then at the top just do dev bool. And there we go. We don't need to do this for the subcommands. So if we now go to the command we created in the last tutorial, then we can just implement this at the bottom, so dev false. Now for actually loading the commands properly and making them global and loading the development commands to the development guild, we want to go to the ready event. And in here, we're going to be changing this up quite a lot. So first of all, we just want to get the client ID, so const client ID equals this dot development mode, this dot client dot development mode, sorry, because we're not in the client class. Then if it's true, we want to use the Discord or the dev Discord client ID. If it's false, we just want to use the normal Discord client ID. Next, we want to keep this same rest line here because that's not changing. And for now, we can just comment this out. We can use it for copy and pasting later. So now, if we're not running the bot in development mode, we want to set the commands to be global. So we need to check this. Now in here, we want to do const global commands equals. Actually, we can just copy and paste it from here. So let's just do that. Now, for the guild ID, we can get rid of this here. Then let's just copy and paste the client ID into here and replace this with application. Oh, spelled that wrong. Application commands. Then replace commands with this dot get JSON. And in here we want to do this dot client commands filter, because we don't want to include the dev commands in this, so we just need to filter them out like this. And there we go, we have an extra bracket there. Then after we've loaded them, we just want to do console.log successfully loaded. We're going to do global commands.length global application, then open brackets and just put a slash in there to make it look nice. Commands dot. Now we want to essentially do the same thing for the developer commands, but we don't want to wrap this in an if statement because we always want them to do this. So we can just essentially copy the application guild commands again. Then we will need to pass in the developer guild into this. So this.client.config dev guild ID. And now we want to filter it for development commands. After this, let's just change this from global commands to dev commands. And then in the console.log, let's just change global to developer. Now we can get rid of everything else because we no longer need this. Now to test this out, we can restart the bot and make sure all the commands are loading properly. So if we start this, it should log what commands. So yeah, we've got one global command which is correct and 0 developer commands which is also correct. So if we go to Discord, in this channel we can see the bots online again. Now if we do /test, so test1, test2, so that they both work now. There we go. So now if I quickly invite the bot to the support server, so if I just go to Chrome and press continue authorize, then now I need to do my 2FA code. There we go, if we confirm that. Now if I add the bot to the server, now if we go back to Discord, to my server, now in this channel we can do test 1 now. There we go. Then test 2. So now we can test developer commands now. So go back to your Visual Studio and let's create a new command. I'm just going to copy and paste the test command. Let's rename this to dev only, for example. Rename the class. In the name, put dev only, make sure it's all lowercase. Dev only command. Then in the categories, we can just leave it as utilities for testing. And then for the permissions, let's do administrator. Then we don't need any options, so let's get rid of that. So true. And then let's uncomment this execute. And we just want to return this is a developer command. There we go. And if we reload the bot now, there we go, we've got one developer command loaded. So if we go back to our test Discord, and now if we do dev only, we can't do the command, but if we go back to the tutorial Discord, we should be able to do /dev only. And there we go, this is a developer command. Now, in the current state, anyone with administrator in this Discord server will be able to run the developer command. So what we can do is we can store an array of the Discord developers' IDs to make sure that no one except a developer can run it. So to do this, go to iconfig, let's just say developer user IDs as a string array. And then our config.json, and here we just want to do developer, what did I call it again? Developer user IDs. And let's just put it as a blank array for now. So if you go back to Discord, right click on yourself or whoever, copy user ID. You will need developer mode on Discord enabled for this, by the way. Then if we just put this in the array. So now if we go to our command handler, and then we just want to add an if statement here. So if command.dev and then exclamation mark, this dot client dot developer user IDs. Oh wait, sorry, we forgot to put config. Then developer user IDs dot includes interaction dot user ID. So if it doesn't include that, we want to return interaction dot reply. Then we want to create a new embed. Set the color to red. Set the description to, let's do Windows dot and get an emoji. Let's just put the cross emoji. And this command is only available to developers. Then if we just close this off, and let's make this epithermal. There we go. Now to test this out, we need to restart the bot to make sure the changes are registered. And then go to Discord, and for this I invited my test account. So if we try the dev only command again, we should be able to use it. There we go, this is a developer command. But then if I go to my test account and try to use the command, so /dev only. Now this didn't work here because I've set the dev only command to be an admin. So we just go to the main Discord, and if I just quickly create a role for this account, if I just edit this permission, scroll to the bottom, administrator, And now if I give the role to that account, so now if I do /dev only, now I can see the command. But if I run it, we will get this command is only available to developers. Now since we've done the developer commands, we can move on to connecting the bot to a database. Now the database which I'm going to show you in this tutorial is mongodb. So first of all, we need to go back to our project and just stop the bot for now. And now we need to install the package for mongodb, so npm I mongoose. And while that's installing, we can go to the custom client and we'll be initializing the connection in here. So after that's installed, we want to start typing connect, and then let's import this from mongoose. And then in here we want to do this.development mode, this.config.dev mongo. Oh, that auto-completed the wrong thing, so dev mongo URL else this.config.mongo URL. This is just so we can have separate databases between the development environment and production environment, just so you can do all your testing safely. And .then in here we can just console.log connected to mongodb.catch and console.log error. We just need to pass the error into it. There we go. Now in our interface we need to create these two properties. So go to our iconfig interface, then paste them in the correct areas, just so to keep them grouped together. And now Mongo URL as a string. Now if we go to our config.json and just add these properties in. So for now we just will leave it as blank. And then do the same down here. Now to get the link to the database, we want to go to Chrome. We want to go to cloud.mongodb.com. Now you will probably need to sign in or create an account if you've already got one. But then just go to this project page and in the top right, just click new project. Then in here, type tutorial, create project. By the way, you don't have to type tutorial, you can name it whatever you want. So now we can create a deployment. And here, these two are the paid options if you want to use that. But for this, I'm just going to show you how to use the free option, but it should be relatively the same. So if you select that, then I'm just going to select the region nearest to me. Now for the name, I'm just going to call this bot name, yours, whatever. Now we want to select username and password. This has just generated it automatically for me. So we want to copy that, go back to our file, and let's just store this for now. And if we go back, and we can press create user. Now we want my local environment. And as you can see, it's added my IP address by default, but it's going to be blurred out. So you can either have it set as your IP address, but if you have a dynamic IP like me, it's probably better to add 0.000/0. So this will allow any IP address. So if we just add entry, then I'll just delete my IP. And there we go, now we can click finish and close. If we go to overview, so while this is doing whatever, we can press connect. Then we want to click on drivers, make sure it's on Node.js 5.5 or later. And now this is our database link down here. So if we just copy this, go back to Visual Studio, paste it in the Mongo URL field, and let's just copy our password again. Now the password field, we want to place the angled brackets password with the password, and then or in front of this, or at the, or behind the slash, we want to just do our database name. So my database name is just going to be guilds for now. And so there we go. So if you're setting up the development environment as well, you will need to do the same and add your link there. So now we can create schemas for the database. So if we just close these folders, and let's create a new folder in the base folder called schemas. In here we can add new file. Let's call this guild config. Here I'm just going to show you how you can create your own schemas, but we'll be using this in the next episode. So here what we want to do is create an interface for our schema. So interface iGuild config. And in here for now, let's just do guild ID as a string. Now for the actual schema itself, we want to export default model, which we need to import from Mongoose. Then inside the type brackets, we need to do iGuild, if I can spell, iGuild config. Then we want the name as guild config, so that'll be the table name. Then the next parameter, we want to do new schema. And then we want to pass in a type as iGuild config again. Then just import this. And in here, we want to do guild ID, as a string with a capital S, or you'll get an error. Now finally, in the next parameter for the schema, just do comma, open brackets again. Let's do timestamps true. This will log the created timestamp for the document and also when it was last updated. Now I'll quickly just show you how to use this schema. So first of all, let's go to our guild or events folder, and in guild, create a new file. Let's call it guild create.ts. And we also want one called guild delete.ts. So these will be raised when the bot joins a guild and leaves a guild. So for the delete one, let's do that one first. So export default class guild delete extends event like you normally would. And in the constructor, we want to pass in client as custom client. And then make sure you import that. Oh, I've actually spelled this wrong, so let me just correct that. Constructor, yep, there we go. And then in the super, we want to do client. Now here we want our options, so the name, which can be events.guild delete. Then we just need to import events. And now next we want to do description. So guild leave event. And do once as false because we want this to run multiple times. Now let's see why this is erroring. Oh, looks like we've got the wrong event. So let's just do import event. There we go. And now that should be the right one, yep. So now in the execute, we're going to do guild, because we get past the guild for when it leaves or joins. Then in here we just want to do a try catch, no wait, guild config dot delete, or delete one. And in here we want to specify our search parameters, so guild ID, guild.id. Just import guild. And in the catch, we just want to log this to the console for now. And then we need to make this an async method, so we can use await. Now for the guild create event, let's just copy and paste all of this in here just to make our life slightly easier. So change this to guild create. On the event, guild create, guild join event. And here, instead of deleting one, we want to do create. Next, we want to check if it exists in the database or if it doesn't exist in the database, because we don't want to create it if it already exists in the database, because if the bot leaves while it's offline, it's not going to delete the config, and then when it will rejoin, it will create a duplicate entry which might cause you problems. So it's just best to check. There we go. We're checking if it doesn't exist, then create it if it doesn't. And now let's just send a message to the owner of the guild when we join. So then guild.fetchOwner. Now we can do owner question mark. Let's send. Then let's send an embed. So in this embed, let's set the color to green because it's a positive thing. And now for the description, let's just say, hey, thanks for inviting me to your server. And now, because we're here, we're checking if the owner exists. So next we want to just do a .catch on the end of this, just in case the owner has DMs disabled, so it won't throw an error. Next, to make sure these events actually get triggered, we need to go to our custom client class, and then in the intents we want to specify gateway intent bits, then .guilds. Then to test this, what I'm going to do is create a command called emit, so we don't have to make the bot leave and join, because that's just a pain. So in your commands folder, create a dev folder, then in here, create a file called emit.ts. Let's just create a command, so export default class emit extends command, and make sure you import command. So in here we want the constructor, which takes in the client as custom client. Next we want to do the super, the passing client. And now it's time to do all of our args for this, or all of the options, sorry. So first we want name emit. Let's do description as emit on event. So we also want to set the dev to true. Then the default member permissions, let's set this to administrator. So IntelliSense is just going to do that for me, but let's put it as capitals for some reason. And next we want DM permission as well, set that to false, because we only want this to happen in guilds. For the category, we're going to need to create a new category for developer. So if we go to enums category, let's make one called developer. Go back to the command. Now we also need to do the cooldown. So let's just set this to 1 because developers aren't going to spam it. And then the last option should be the options. So in here, what we want to do is just create an option which will allow us to pick events to run. So let's just do name, event, and description, the event to emit, required true, and we want the type as application command option type string. Next, we want to pass in a choices option. It's an array. So in here, we just want to put the object with name. So let's do guild create. And the value as events.guild create. And import events. Then we just want to do the same for guild delete as well. Now for the actual execute method, so let's do execute interaction as chat input command interaction. Then in here we want to do const event equals interaction dot options. If I can, oh, I spelled that wrong, sorry. So interaction dot options get string. Then we want to get the event. Then we don't need to do a null check on this because this option is required. We want to do if event equals, let's just copy this. Then we just want to do this dot client dot emit. Then we want to emit the event with interaction or interaction dot guild as guild. Otherwise, it can be nullable, even though we won't. Even though it can't be nullable because we're doing this in a guild. Then finally, let's just do interaction dot reply. Let's do an embed. New embed builder. Let's set the color as green. Then let's set the description as emit event. Let's format this to make it look nice. Let's make this epithermal. And there we go. Now, if you're wondering why we do this check here, it's because each event requires different arguments. So we need to pass these in. So, for example, these two events require the guild as an argument, the interaction crate requires the interaction as an argument, etc. Now, let's just go fix that one error we have. Oh, it looks like I've done the wrong type in the constructor, so custom client, not custom event. Wherever that was imported from, I don't know. So there we go, that should all be fixed now. Let me just do that formatting. Now if we start the bot using npm run start, should see another developer command. There we go. Now we've got two developer commands, which is the dev only command which we made previously, and now the emit command. So if we go over to Discord now, and in the server, if we just do emit guild create. Now actually before we actually do this, let's go back to mongodb. Then when you're on your overview on the left side, press database, then click on the database, then click collections. Now this is where we'll be able to view our data. So if I now go back to Discord and run the guild create event, we should get a DM from the bot. There we go. So hey, thanks for inviting me to your server. Now if we go back and then go to MongoDB, press refresh. It's created our database and table, and it's added a document with our guild ID. So let's just double check this. So if I just copy and paste that, pull it there, then right click on my server, copy server ID, you can see these are exactly the same, so it's done it correctly. So now if we just emit the guild delete event and see if it deletes. So if we go back and refresh, there should be no documents. And yeah, there we go. Now that's all for this episode. In the next one, we will be starting to go over moderation commands. Thanks for watching.